I like Brian. Woo, Brian! Brian!
Brian!
You're so good at being
Two.
Get this guy.
French are coming.
Two.
Three.
Four. Three.
Three for Jonathan!
Five. Six. Four.
Seven! Eight!
Eight. Stop.
Hold!
Crossbow's way more accurate.
1 minute on the board.
Sir Brian, that was actually 1 minute.
It was.
It was 1 minute, yes.
Imagine that.
All right, so we had 8 on this side, all of them.
And Jonathan had some.
I win!
What do you think?
We don't really
See,
train
we have
the
the
crossbowmen
archer.
that well.
Woo!
Brian!
The closest to the stick would be Brian, our archer,
Right, the archer, not the knight.
not the knight.
The
That's
other,
why I
the
said
other knight.
Brian the archer.
Right. So, out on the battlefield, you had the projectile weapons. You had the archer and you had the crossbowman. The English obviously preferred the archer over the crossbowman, and most of the other European countries ended up employing the crossbowman only because, as Jonathan said, it was a lot easier to train the country bumpkin to fire off a crossbow. Now, there were other weapons out on the battlefield. A lot of them were hand weapons. So Scott is going to step forward and talk about one of those weapons.
So this is a short sword or arming sword, and this is a buckler. So what happens for an archer when the charge gets through to them and their bows are no longer useful is they're going to have a sword and a buckler for hand-to-hand combat. Knights generally do not have a buckler because they're wearing their armor. When we do our fight presentation, we actually like to fight with the bucklers anyway because it makes a lot of noise and everybody likes it. So what we have here is not just a defensive weapon, it's not just a shield. Brian. So I'm fighting an armored knight. This isn't going to do anything for me. Another thing you won't see us doing in our fight demonstrations is thrusting, is what these swords are designed to do. You went for the soft bits, just take them out. We don't do that because we want to fight again tomorrow.
We've got another show to do.
Guys, basically, the basic use on a buckler is you want, oh sure, yeah. You want to be able to get in on your opponent, you can move his weapon aside, and you're going to be able to come in with your sword. You use it to block his vision out. Of course I'm dead now. But it's really, it can restrict the vision so they don't see where you're coming from. You obviously can also use it to block. It can also be a good weapon for punch, to edge punching, to stun your opponent.
We call that one the Captain America.
It's a nose breaker. Basically, this is something that would be part of every archer's kit. Many of the foot soldiers would have them as well. Some of the other techniques when you're using a short sword, as far as non-thrusting techniques go, it's kind of a weapon where you want to come in on the side. You can deflect in on your opponent. That can give you more leverage this way, so you're not always jabbing. It's all about leverage when you're fighting with this kind of weapon. Surprise and power are also essential. And I mean,
Not really. What's it?
you have anything to add?
I am going to come in then, because I like to talk. And I'm going to keep him up here for me for a moment. One of my favorite weapons, the long distance. I like range, right? I don't want to get in that close. Right? If I can stop him before he gets close, this is kind of helpful.
Hi.
Right? He can't get me with most swords at that point. Now, this is lovely. Polearms, when they went out to fight, not everybody had a sword. Often you would grab what implements were around, often farming implements. This one, though, is lovely. You get two benefits in one. You get the nice sharp axe, hack them down or pull them down off of a horse if they're up there, and the bashing bits. Right? With the heavy metal, it would be often hard to get through with something sharp. as he said, you're going to go for around it, go for the soft bits. But with this, you could actually crush the
stand
armor
on the back,
onto
okay?
the knife, do some significant damage in the process. So these were
wanna
very
come up on my lap?
often
Yeah.
used.
Can opener.
Can openers.
No.
Now we don't use these
Yeah.
like this when we fight, right? As he said, we need them for future shows. So Dame Bree here, one of our fighters, is showing what we actually use.
It's a heavy rubber. It's almost like a hockey puck, and it still packs a really good punch. It's mounted on a hickory shaft, so it's a good solid heavy weapon. The points are also that heavy rubber, so once again, packs a really good punch, but is not going to effectively kill us all.
And lest you think that's too soft, this dent was from one of those.
Yes.
And a head shot with one of those will give them a little bit of the bell ringing.
It'll
effect.
clean your clock.
Yes.
I will contest to that.
Yes.
I will, yes.
Now this has, and some of these would have had a spear type of tip on the end here, so that you could also do some thrusting, right? So the more different pieces you had on here, it's like your Swiss Army knife in the Middle Ages. This will get them in a variety of different manners. There we go.
All right, so basically what we're trying to say, it was an arms race back then. An armorer would design a certain bit of armor, and then the weapons designer would design a certain bit of weapon to get past that defense. Or they would design a weapon, and they would design another weapon to get past that weapon. What eventually made the major downfall for the armored knight or the armored combatant out on the battlefield, because by the time Brian comes out, he is pretty much covered in full plate, was the advent of the gun. Now, we all know that the Chinese invented gunpowder. It was the Europeans that invented this type of weapon for use out on the European battlefield. This one is actually from 1470.
Yep, 1460, 1470.
This is an actual copy of one that was found in the Tower of London. This is a matchlock gun. And don't worry, folks, this unit is not loaded. I'm just basically carrying a large club. All right. So if the barrel does point towards you, don't worry, it's not going to go off. Someone may yell bang later, but just saying. Now, this is about a 75 caliber, which is roughly about what they were doing. They started out basically with a barrel on a stick, and they would fire it off at a distance, and then they got closer and closer and realized this was a better design until you folks will see something similar that the pirates are going to be using. They did not fire this weapon like we know a gun nowadays, where you put it up to your shoulder and fire. They would have held it down here. They would have held it up here. But this unit was designed to hopefully penetrate armor. But as I said, armorers developed armor that was tougher and tougher until it got to the point where an armorer would fire a weapon at his armor, and just to prove that the armor was bulletproof. And it would leave a little dent somewhere on, not this one, somewhere on the armor, and that was your proof that your armor was safe against guns. That's where the term bulletproof comes from. Now, in order to fire this gun, now let me take a step back. Gunners were not spelled G-U-N-N-E-R back then. They were spelled G-O-N-N-E-R.
He's a goner.
He's a goner. It was just like the crossbow. They could give one of these to the average person that you really didn't care too much about, and to learn how to fire these things, because they also tended to explode while you were firing them. If you fired them too much, they may also explode. So hence the term goner. But how you loaded this unit is rather interesting. You have a burning match cord right here, hence the matchlock. You are opening up the priming pan and pouring powder into the priming pan while this is burning. All right? You're closing this up. All right? Then you take more powder and pour it down here into the barrel. All right? Like this. While this is burning. All right? And then you take your shot, 75 caliber, roughly, ball, put it down into the barrel. Now, you all have seen other guns where they have a tamping rod. This is not a tamping rod here. This is just a cleaning rod. What they would have done is they would have taken the gun All right?
The important point, it is still burning the whole time.
Right. You have a nice glowing red ember down here while this is burning. Okay, you see the point. All right. So then you're going to step back and you're going to open the pan, blow on this to get it nice red and hot. You're going to take the gun and aim it out at the aforementioned mass of people coming towards you. All right? And hopefully it will not explode. But think about this. All right, let's set the scene. Let's set the tone. Use your imaginations, folks. Remember, it's the weekend. I'm sorry, but you're going to have to. Imagine that it's a very quiet society you live in. All you hear are the horses, the squashing around, the heat of battle. You don't have Pokemon people playing around with cell phones. You don't have planes going overhead. It's a very quiet society you live in. You're not used to loud noises. And you're in the army approaching me. All right? Mass together, all of you, all your friends, just lockstep coming at me. You want to try to kill me. And you see little old me with all my buddies up there with this weird weapon, all right, pointed at you.
With smoke coming out of it.
And then all of a sudden, you hear this loud boom! And you see all this gouts of flame and all this smoke going off. First you say it, then you're going to do it. All right? So it's a very good psychological weapon. Now these guns were not that accurate. They were accurate probably from here to about the young man in the red sweatshirt. All right? Which is why it was really good that you all were nice and got together in one big group to come at me.
Great target.
Yes.
Big target.
Yes.
So this was the downfall of the armored combatant out on the European battlefield. These guns tended to get bigger and bigger until it got to the point where 3 men were needed to hold this unit up. And then someone somewhere got smart and said, let's put some wheels on that. Aha, we have a cannon. Now we can make big guns. And
We can shoot
little
castles
tiny
instead of
pieces
people.
knights all over the place.
All right, so and did you talk about, we haven't talked about armor though, right?
No, we didn't.
No, we didn't. So, and we're kind of missing a bit of armor out here. We saw our archer, and he's got his padding, and he had a helmet on. And they would have gotten anything else that they could have found or scavenged off of the battlefield. And then we show you our knight, who's in his lovely plate mail. He's got a whole matching set. He's obviously very wealthy. So women, keep that in mind. When you see that, that means wealth.
Single too, by the way.
Oh, there we go. I wasn't aware of that. Oh, what we're missing is the mail. We don't have anybody out here today wearing our mail. And Sir Brian will be
Mail is in M-A-L-E or the other type of mail?
M-A-I-L-L-E.
Oh, okay.
What people colloquially refer to as chainmail. Now, chainmail is not the correct name. Mail means made of chain. So you're saying chain. So it's kind of like saying ATM machine or your PIN number, right? You're repeating yourself. So we call it just mail. Ooh. Sorry, getting caught on things here. Just mail. And Brian's piece would have had parts of that. For the softer areas here, you would have put mail underneath because it's flexible, but still would have provided some coverage.
You'll actually see that later on in our 2 o'clock fight demo. Hint, hint.
He'll be armoring up to fight, and then you'll see his has got much more coverage in those areas in the back. His back is a little bit unprotected at this point. He's got to make sure he keeps his front to the people at all times. Yes, what's your question?
I'm thinking, didn't most knights also have basically chainmail kilts? I mean,
Yep.
That's what he's got on his. You'll see that later, or if you see, you have it out. I've seen the encampment.
Yep.
So you can go over the encampment and see that later.
Right. By the way, our encampment is over here, and if you feel free, come in and ask us a bunch of questions. We may actually have an answer for you, but we have a lot of our armor and weapons set up over there.
Can they try on helmets today?
Yes, I believe they
Yes,
can.
all right.
try
So
on
the
mine,
helmets, you can come and try those on. All right, so I think I'm ready to go off and start taxing people and shopping.
What do you think? Should we let her go and do that?
Does he have a say?
Yeah, not
Here's the
really.
queen after all.
No, I am the queen.
No. So
All my taxes go to charity today.
yes, yes. So we thank you for coming to our 11 o'clock show. Please come for our 2 o'clock fight demo.
That was exciting.
That's very exciting. If you have never seen a train wreck before, that is what it's going to be like.
And I will be emceeing it, the train wreck. It's lovely.
A lot of grown people in full plate armor.
Thank you.
That horse really wants to run. Yeah, well, the horse really wants to take off.
Yeah.
Sam Handwich, I'm the first mate. My lovely wife is the captain. For you gentlemen out there, always let your wife be captain. I have no actual duties unless something happens to her, and I pay him to watch her. We're going to start our demonstration with the 3-barrel Chinese hand cannon. This is an example from the 17th century. 3 75 caliber barrels, hammer welded together, lit in succession from small quills. This was the first real firearm about the year between 9 and 1100, depending on who you ask. Some enterprising Chinese individual took a rocket and held it backwards and decided he could hurt someone. Thus the hand cannon was born. I'm going to go fire it now. Okay.
Okay, kiddo, yeah, we'll do that later. Do you want to watch the show or not? We can go look at the guns later.
No.
We'll watch the show, because then, remember, this is where you get to hear the explosions.
Steward, or as they like to call me, the mistress of rum. I am in charge of the supplies aboard ship. My job is to make sure if we have supplies for 3 months at sea, they last for 3 months at sea.
Didn't do so well last month, Dan.
That wasn't me, that was him.
I was thirsty. Blame me, Saxon. I was thirsty.
Rum.
Yes. And actually what we drank aboard ship was called grog. What grog is a mixture of water, rum, and citrus. The citrus helped prevent scurvy, and the rum helped the water from spoiling.
Hi. 3-barrel Chinese hand cannon. 3 barrels lit in succession with this. Fire in the hole!
Fire in the hole! One! 2!
Come on.
3!
Now realize.
Did that startle you?
By itself is not impressive. Line 50 to 100 of them up against on a cannon on a castle wall. That looks scary.
What I have here is called the matchlock. The next evolution, right here you have a wick. It's also one of the more dangerous weapons online.
It's a bomb.
Put your powder here while this is lit, so any slip of the finger could cause a boom.
It's one of the most dangerous, isn't it?
Yes, it's also the most fun.
Well, that's true. Hey, maybe I'll get some work to do.
Matchlock is 62 caliber with the first mechanical firearm after the hand cannon. It's simplicity itself. Pull the lever, the serpentine comes down, kaboom. In acclimate weather, it's useless.
Alrighty, I'm going to take some of your time up, because I do like to talk. My name's Coraline Cutthroat. I am the barber surgeon on this fine vessel. You may question yourself, why do I have 2 names? It's very rare that you found anybody that had any kind of medical knowledge on a ship. Certainly don't want other pirates to know I'm on that ship because they're going to attack this crew. Not only take their booty, but they're going to take me alive. I know about that, but... And besides...
most of us have long hair.
Yeah, well, you know, they thought I was real good with the knife, so they thought I'd keep them nice and clean. So they hired me as the barber. I want to tell you a few things. Would you please hold this for a minute? Life on ship wasn't always easy, and you had to make do with a lot of things that you could find. People get cut. Things happen. I'd find a fish, and I would fasten out of their rib. And these are our actual bones. They are bigger than what I normally use, but if I had that size in my hand, you wouldn't see it. When we were down in the Orient, I'd have somebody in the ship pick up some nice fine silk for me. If I can't get silk, we're up the coast of Africa. There are some bushes there that have very long needles to them. I would use that to hold the suture together. Other than that, black powder burns. Little heat, cauterizes it. Try not to, but I think it's fun though. But, oh, ready to fire.
62 caliber matchlock.
Fire in the hole!
This is making hurt my ears.
Again, fire in the hole!
Now, mind you, that's run by a piece of cotton rope that's been soaked in a very fine gunpowder. That's what they use for the linstock when we light the cannons and stuff. It'll burn it about an inch every 3 minutes.
Are you firing?
I think we're ready again.
Get up.
All right, I'm going to talk some more here. You heard, you know, we had grog on the ship. We had rum on the ship. I could use rum to clean wounds. I could use rum, knock them out a bit. That would help. Other than that, I'd have to go to the ship's carpenter and see what she had that maybe I could use as a tool to knock that one out. But that's another injury. Yeah.
All right.
That's another injury.
Fire in the hole.
Every fair.
I'm sorry, my friend.
That's okay. Yeah, I'm not going to keep talking. I'm going to start talking about this. This here is the blunderbuss, 75 caliber. It is known as the deck sweeper, man, because of how wide the end mouth here is. People used to think you could grab anything on a ship, shove it down, it will work. No, not really. They're not accurate. They just go all over the place. As years went on, and I'm sure this fine gentleman over here I might go along and tell you about that story there. This is very
We're going to look
loud.
later.
That's why I like it.
Come here.
But it would. People come on
We're
ship.
here to see this, and then we can go see the
things
guns.
away.
Don't worry
All
about
away.
it. Relax.
Known as a deck
You'll
sweeper.
be fine.
Many of these are very good.
Okay.
Would you like to hear it?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
There we go. I'm a little deaf hit. What? Yes. All right.
I believe they were affirmative on that.
You go next, buddy.
How you guys doing?
Good.
I know some of you are doing good. I don't know about the rest of you though. They look a little shady, especially this group right here. That's just all trouble. Anyway, my name is Ship's Assassin. My name is Master Hugo. I take care of our captain, make sure she doesn't get into any trouble. I have the duck foot. It's very cute, right? It's nice, huh? It's very easy, portable.
Hot box lock. 32 cal.
32 cal. It is a smooth bore. It's brass, so it doesn't rust. It's pretty inconspicuous. I can pretty much hide it anywhere on my person. Women used to wanted something like this as well. They'd stick it in one of their muffs. So that way, if you're in town or whatever and you're a little conspicuous, getting in a little trouble, you can whip it out and take care of that person.
They're not going away.
Walk away conspicuously.
Easy. Huh?
And the surgery is ready.
75 caliber. Let's hope it works.
Not gonna go off half cock though.
No, it won't. And where did that ever come from? Just
Right
say
there.
it. There we go. Now we're full.
Hi everybody, I'm Captain Pazzi and I'm kind of in charge of this crew of cutthroats. What they were just saying.
I've never cut anybody's throat. Shot them, stabbed them.
Wait a minute. That's cutting somebody's name. Sorry.
When they just said don't go off half-cocked, that actually came from the days of flintlock. This is my... that would be half-cocked. So now if I try and pull that trigger, it won't pull. But if I go full cock, which is 2 clicks back, when I pull it, it makes a little spark. Spark falls down into this pan where we've got a small amount of powder. The powder goes off in that pan and gets sucked in a little hole and then ignites the charge inside and off it goes. So when they say don't go off half-cocked, it's because you're not going to get to pull the trigger on your gun and you'll probably get killed.
Box locks hot.
Ready?
Yeah.
32 caliber top box lock.
This won't hurt my
Well done.
Fire in the hole.
Fire in the hole. Oh, misfire.
Prime the pan. Well done.
When they say prime the pan, that's what we mean.
First day of the season.
That's what we mean when we
He
say
shoots
prime the
hand to
pan.
hand.
We put a little bit of
He
fine
doesn't use
powder.
firearms much.
My firearm is a 50 cal Queen Anne. The original Queen Anne would have had a turn-off barrel. Right here, there's some rings. It means this barrel would have unscrewed from the body of the gun. The owner would have seated the charge, seated the ball, screwed the barrel back on, went to full cock, and then they're ready to shoot. Took a lot to do. So a really enterprising colonist named J.P. Beck decided to make a longer stock and give it a ramrod. Now it was a true muzzle loader like the other guns. Are you ready now?
Ready now.
Okay.
Second time. Fire in the hole.
Fire in the hole.
Isn't that cute sounding?
The Queen Anne was also favored weapon of Blackbeard himself.
Because of its small size, he could hide it in his pocket, in his coat.
He had
because they
several
like
of
that.
them on him at a time.
Captain, let's tell people what this thing is here attached.
It's my thing on a string. No, it's actually called a frizzen stall. You like that, huh? It's called a frizzen stall. It's a piece of leather. It goes over the frizzen. So now, if it accidentally comes to full cock, it can't make a spark against that leather. Without the leather, it can make a spark and actually make the gun ignite if it were loaded. So that's my safety. All right, let me go unsafety it and fire it for you.
All right, kiddo. We'll be
I
able to
am
go
James
see.
D. I'm the ship's master at arms.
We'll be able to see the,
It's my
the
responsibility to
guns.
make sure that
And I'll
these
be able to
weapons
show
are able to
a
fire,
sample
and
all
that
of
these
the
people
guns.
actually know how to use swords, cutlasses,
And other
battle
things.
axes,
Blades
and other fun toys.
You're not doing a great job.
I try. I try. My other job, after I liberated her, is I'm the ship's sniper. Now, most ships have muskets. We have a rifle. Back then, rifles were rare because they were an experiment to help with fouling of black powder. And lo and behold, it actually made the weapon more accurate. So instead of
Don't stand on the back.
making it less often to clean it, made it more accurate. So you've got toys like my favorite little thing right here, 50 caliber rifle,
Oh, hi. I was chatting.
which is good for accuracy, almost as long as our cannon, about 200 yards.
50 cal, smooth bore, Queen Anne. Fire in the hole.
Now,
Captain's done.
she's going to make a little bit different noise than everybody else. Of course, you haven't heard the big noise yet.
Yay, big noise.
Now, aboard ship was quite close quartered, so you don't see any of us
Kiddo,
having
kiddo,
those
kiddo,
great
stay
big
here.
long claymore
Stay here.
swords or
Okay?
broadswords.
All right.
We use small weapons. Hugo has one of the
battle axes. Great for
Supporting
cutting the
axe.
riggings. Pretty much good for hand-to-hand combat. And yeah, usually that, and I do a dagger, so I can rumble with both. Either way.
The classic cutlass. Curved, short, solid end. There's not a lot of room on board ship. This isn't Hollywood. Rigging, mast, sails, barrels, just stuff everywhere. Not a lot of room. You swing a long sword like the rapier, you're more likely to get it caught up and get stabbed.
Or you can use what the ship has provided, like this belaying pin. This normally would have rigging tied around it to hold it down. However, in the heat of battle, you just have to pull it out and you have a pretty awesome club, and it hurts a lot.
All right. Before the development of the footlock, but after the matchlock, came the wheel lock. The wheel lock was prohibitively expensive as it was made by a clockmaker. Inside are a series of gears and springs. I turned the wheel with the special spanner, which is British for wrench. And instead of a piece of flint slamming into a hunk of steel, this has a piece of iron pyrite. It sits against the roughened wheel. When I pull the trigger, the springs let go, spin the wheel, almost like a modern cigarette lighter. This is not getting fired right now. It's kind of expensive and I already broke it once. Fire in the hole! Now, all of these weapons are a single shot. This is terrible. So, people tried over the years to develop more than one way to use a gun. Over there on the table we have an example of an Elgin that has a knife blade underneath it. I thought someone was closer. Ah, yes. Shoot him, stab him, shoot him. Works really well. The early 1830s, someone developed a duck foot. Brilliant. 3 shots at the same time when you absolutely have to kill every pirate below these decks, except no substitutes. Also in the 1830s, the revolver was developed. This is the earliest model we could find. It's from about 1835. Instead of a chamber revolving, you actually revolve the barrels by hand after every shot. It's a reproduction I found at Brimfield Flea Market. Aha! Yay, Brimfield! Yay,
Half of our
Brimfield!
guns have been
That's
thrown.
right.
I got a little fun fact for you people. We'll see how many of you happen to know this. The Queen needed some people to do some work for her. They ended up knowing to be the first Navy group. Does anybody know who these people were?
Three Musketeers.
How did you know? No, they called the pirates. They figured the pirates would do the job the Queen needed to do. Some of the pirates liked it. They're a little more nicer. They didn't necessarily take things that they wanted to. They were then known as privateers. So of course, now you got the pirates and the privateers, and they don't get along.
All right, so let's practice after their
No, practice while they're fighting. Be very, very loud.
very loud, because, oh, by the way, if you hear giggling, that's from Sir Scott. The harder he gets hit, he giggles. The more you yell, he giggles. So,
It's quite fun. I love it.
yeah.
But you have to get really loud.
All right, gentlemen, at the ready. Fight! you folks see the type of poleaxe we're using. Normally a poleaxe like this would be made of metal. We make these out of tire rubber. We practice with these. I can tell you that these things hurt even through the armor, but they will not crush the armor like the metal poleaxes are designed to do. I have a great practice weapon. Ready for another round, or you? Okay.
Yes? All right.
One more round with these poleaxes. Come on, ready? Fight! Fight! Let's go! Yeah! There we go! Bring him down!
Oh, all right. Nothing. So they like to get hit. That was our pull. Brian in the red coffee is new to us, so he's going to be trying it out. What weapon are we using?
Not sure yet.
Not sure. We don't know what weapon they're going to hit each other.
Swords.
Probably swords, but I don't know. All right. So they said you can't really hear much when you have the armor on, but also they're wearing their fighting armor. To be a knight, you really needed at least 2 or 3 sets of armor. And each set of armor would cost about as much as a nice Lexus or a BMW today. Right? But you needed your fighting armor. You needed your jousting armor, and you needed your dress armor for when you're around the queen. Because you can't show up in my court looking like that. I will not allow that in. Right? So it was very expensive to be a knight, so you often had what we call man-at-arms. And we've got like man-at-arms Scotty. They didn't have to pay as much. There was less upkeep. They weren't required to provide soldiers for the army. Every knight would be required to bring so many people depending on how much property you had. It gets really expensive. For us, to give you an idea, the helmet on Sir Brian, we'll call him the blue and red, his head is what, about $2,000, $2,500 for the helmet. But after a few hits to the head and one to the eye, we decided that. Alright, we're on long sword and oh, so long sword versus polearm. Alright, this is going to be interesting. We're going to be a short range weapon versus a weapon with a little bit more reach. I think Brian's going to hit to lose, but we'll see exactly which one. I'm always right to that picture. Brian will lose and Brian will win. Huzzah! Alright, Brian. See, he just asked me if I told you all something I already told you. So yes, I did. Alright, so this is, as I said, their first time battling it out. We're figuring out what levels, right? It depends on how hard they go and how fast they go. These two have a lot of training, so it'll be a little bit faster. But if someone new, it's a little bit slower, a little bit more cautious. We don't want to break them the first time out. All right, they are now set. So, knights at the ready. Lay on. Go!
Focus! Focus! Power strike! Power strike! Moonhouse!
Keep going, Ryan. Keep it going.
Come on! Bring down the head! One more! Stop! Take him to the ground!
watching and blocking of you. Part of my job is being the person out front is to keep an eye and make sure that all the armor is functioning correctly and that both of the legs look like they're doing okay. I have to call a hold if there's a problem, if something is broken, so no one actually
Sorry, what?
significantly. Often you would just reclaim pieces of armor though, so man-at-arms would often be garbed in just what they could find or take off of somebody. But it looks like we're ready to fight and I don't like to leave them standing around too long. So, are we ready? Woo! Alright, guys, you ready? Lay on!
Go!
Alright, so you guys want to do another round? Breather. You have two ready if you want to take a breather. I can do another round.
One more.
One
Yeah!
more. Alright, guys, are you ready? Lay on!
Fight!
I want to talk to you now. I'll pass it over to Brian.
All right. Now, you saw how they were smacking at each other. They were trying to go for little chinks in the armor, little places where they could get in. Now, you saw also that they're both using swords. Swords were not the best designed weapon to go up against a man in armor. Why is that, Brian?
Because it blocks it.
Basically, it's a great cutting weapon or a battering weapon if you're not wearing armor or your opponent's not wearing armor. But also, these swords are very, very flexible and very light. So in order to get into his little kinks in there, I've got to shorten up on the blade. Now this is a technique called half swording. All right? Basically what I'm doing is I'm taking and cutting down the blade area into a small dagger, but it allows my opponent who's half swording to get into my tight areas, you know, in like that. Yeah, thank you for going up here. All right.
Yeah, this is a nice.
Yeah.
Great for the throat.
I'm a nice guy, really.
All right, so.
Enough talking, more battle.
Right.
I can talk while you guys battle up, while you guys armor up. Trust me, I can talk. I teach. I can talk.
Oh, did you talk about how heavy?
No, I have not talked about how heavy.
All right. So, now normally we don't do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Oh my goodness, we put the tips in the ground.
I know.
All
Don't
right.
do that.
So, oh.
Now
King
you've got
Arthur
a
would be
hole
ashamed.
in my shire.
All right, so now a lot of you are probably asking yourselves, and I know you are because I've experienced this question plenty enough times, how heavy is that suit of armor?
Let's ask him. How heavy is it?
How heavy is it?
There you go, Brian. You gotta ask him.
All right, so basically I am wearing about 90 pounds of kit. Brian is wearing 60 or so. Scott is wearing about 60. Right.
And you're wearing the most, though.
103 pounds.
Is that counting your padding, or is that just armor?
That is everything that I am wearing, all right, all the way down to my skivvy.
We don't need, no, I knew you were going to go there. We don't need that part.
All right, now also, you folks usually ask this other question, how hot is that?
How hot is it?
You guys are getting it. All right, I like that. All right, now is it nice and warm or a little chilly for you folks?
Comfortable.
A little chilly, comfortable? All right. Now add about 30 degrees on top of that. All right. And that's what we're feeling.
I don't know, because he tried to put it in the ground and that isn't a good idea.
We're like an easy bake oven with 3 bulbs. All right.
All right, go. Come on. Get some armor on, man. Woo! Hey. No, I'm Brian. I'm using the sword. As they're getting ready, they're going to see doing the half sorting. You're going to see a lot more technique in this, less bashing. Still exciting, lots of fun. We'll see how that goes. Most of the men at arms, as I said, would gather up their armor from the battlefield, but archers were even more so. And archers were generally just to climb in the end, so they couldn't sword armor.
I want to have my
You want to have what? Well, we'd have to go back to the car.
Which was all right at the time.
Okay? So we can do that if you want.
3 or 4 archers on the field for every knight. All they really needed to do was overwhelm a knight, get him down on the ground, hold the dagger to his eyes, and ask him if he yields. If he yields, they agreed him. If he didn't, they had armor. Either way, they got paid. Right? So that was kind of a benefit for being an archer. Plus, you didn't have to wear that on a hot day. You want your sword back. I was good to rule.
Stop playing my sword, dude.
No. So are we ready? I want to be really loud for this one. Are you all ready?
I heard a boo somewhere.
Guys, if they're ready, lay on.
Hey!
Well, no, not really, but.
Go, Debbie.
Cross guard straight!
Woo, come on, guys!
Keep your balance! Check him! Check him! Hey! Face shield!
As I said, a lot more technique in this battle, a lot more.
Good.
All right, roll!
Wait. No, now? Not yet. We still got a lot of things to do.
You got a lot of things to guard.
Andrew, watch your sword.
That's what I just heard. You're in charge of the show. You tell me.
You want your helmet up or you You're great. I just want to make sure we got. Hey, you guys ready to do that?
I can sit on your foot. Is that comfortable?
Good job, Henry.
All right, now. Christian Matt, he's a student experience rider.
Guns license.
Yeah.
Pieces of the justice.
Thank you.
What do you say? Ow. don't want I think he wants. Will! You guys want one more? Yeah! Go, 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 go! Go! Here we go again! What did you say? Someone dropped! That he won! Okay, this is
What would happen if we were at battle? I would just say fire at will, and they would follow these steps every time they load the cannon. So in essence, what they're doing is they're cleaning the cannon and then firing, and then cleaning it and then firing. When we light the cannon, we're going to use a piece of green firecracker fuse. It gives it a moment to burn down, lets me get my crew away from the cannon. If we had been firing in the real days of piracy, I would have used a bird's quill. I would have broken off the back end of the quill, I would have flayed it open a little bit, and put a very fine grade black powder. That would have then gone into the vent of the cannon, and that's how we would have lit our cannon, and it would have been instantaneous. The minute we put the windstock to it, it would go boom. So we don't do this anymore. Also, in the days of piracy, they would make all the cannon charges and keep them in the hold, and they'd make them out of cotton sacks. They'd fill these up, they'd tie them off, they'd put them down in the hold, and this is what the powder monkeys would go and get and give to the cannoneers. These would then be seated into the cannon, and they'd follow the directions here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the calls for the cannon, but then I'm going to tell you good people why I'm having them do this. Ready? Ready. On apron, the vent.
On apron.
The apron is a piece of leather. It goes over that back vent of the cannon. It helps keep that vent dry and free of debris inside of there.
Vent on apron.
Clean the vent. Every time before we shoot, we clean this cannon. So they would take a brass, what looked like a pipe cleaner, they'd run it down the vent and just make sure there was no debris in that vent.
Vent cleaned.
Stop the vent. A thumb stall, which it's a big piece of leather, shaped like your thumb, like a piece of mitten cut off, that goes over the vent. If we had been firing throughout the day, there'd be embers in that bore, and as he rams the charge home, it could flare up those embers by sucking the air through the vent. So we stop that airflow from coming through the vent. Worm the bore. Now they'll take a long stick that has a piece of conical-shaped metal on the end. They run that down the length of the bore, give it a twist, and every time we fire, a little piece of something is left in the back from the cartridge that we place in there. So we need to get that out.
Bore worm.
Wet sponge. Big stick, looks like it's got two pieces of wool on either end, looks like a big Q-tip. They'll take one end, they'll run that down the bore, wet it, make sure all the sparks are doused before we put a charge in there, and it also cleans the cannon.
Sponged.
Dry sponge. Flip it over, you got the dry end. We all know black powder doesn't like water, so you run that down and you take and dry out the inside of the bore.
Dry.
Receive your cartridge and load your piece. Powder monkey, that's where they would run and get the cartridge, bring it to the cannoneer. He'll seat it at the mouth of the cannon, and then take the ramrod and push it to the back.
He's loaded.
Check that it be home. What that means is if we were going to put a cannonball in this cannon, if there's a small pocket of air left behind this cartridge, it could cause the hull to explode. So we want to make sure that that black powder charge is seated all the way to the back of the cannon. Check that it be home makes him do it a second time and make sure that it's very well seated.
Charge home.
Pick the cartridge. A little brass wire gets run into the vent and they wiggle it around. It's going to open up this cotton bag and expose the black powder inside for firing.
Charge pricked.
Receive your primer and prime your piece. I know, the wording, right?
I'm only 13 over here, really.
Now. So now he's going to get the primer. I mentioned this is a green fireworks fuse. When we light it, it's going to sizzle and pop for a few seconds. They always say up the front that they can't hear us yell fire in the hole, and the cannon scares the bejesus out of them. So what? Oh.
Too bad for them.
So what we're going to do is I'm going to have you good folks help me. We're going to go 1, 2, 3. Kind of turn that way and scream, fire in the hole, so they all hear us. So what he'll do now is he'll light that linstock. In a battle, the linstock will stay lit. It only burns about an inch every 3 minutes, so it would last for a good while. And little people, when we do the 1, 2, 3 fire in the hole, I want you to block your ears and open your mouth. It helps equalize the pressure in your head a little bit.
And it makes you look silly, and we like to
Yes,
laugh.
you guys all look like a bunch of fish. Yeah, I like that. All right, ready to help me count?
Skiddo, you know what it sounds like. You can choose if you want.
2, 3, fire! Block your ears.
There we go.
Wait for and next weekend. Yeah, I see it. All 3 days.